Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. It really does mean a lot to us. I'm Lisa Sheehan. I do work for Canyon County, but I have the great honor also of serving as the secretary of the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force. So it's awesome to see such a crowd here. I want to welcome some special guests. Thank you. All right. Now you can all hear me. Okay. I want to welcome some special guests. We have the Canyon County Commissioners. I saw Commissioner White, and then I know Van Beek is here. We also have the Nampa Mayor, Mayor Kuhn. Good morning. Sheriff Donahue. Brian Taylor, our Canyon County Prosecutor. Griselda De La Cruz. She's from the Nampa Family Justice Center. Here you are, Griselda. Kim Dugan from Advocates Against Family Violence. And anybody else that I missed that I should have got, I really do apologize. But I see various people here from lots of different walks of life. And again, I'm very pleased that you all came. I want to have a special thank you to the Canyon County Deputy Sheriff's Association, Walmart, CWI's Criminal Justice Club, the Nampa Family Justice Center, Advocates Against Family Violence for painting the purple pumpkins. They're backed by popular demand. And also Advocates Against Family Violence for providing the In Her Shoes training and luncheon today. So again, working for the Canyon County Domestic Task Force, what I think a lot of people don't know is that the task force actually started back in 1998. So it's 21 years old. And over time it has really developed and grown. And we have so many different people and agencies. I listed a couple of them. We have victim witness coordinators, victim advocates, law enforcement, attorneys, probation and parole officers, the Nampa Family Justice Center, who always hosts the meetings, by the way, community shelters and housing such as AAFV, Advocates Against Family Violence, the Boise Rescue Mission, the Mexican Consulate, and various charities, domestic violence treatment providers, counselors, nonprofit agencies, and just people who are passionate about this cause. And it is a cause that affects each and every one of us. So if you would like to attend any of those meetings, you're more than welcome to do so. They are the second Tuesday of each month at the Nampa Family Justice Center, and even other than this month. We have so many activities going on this month that we don't have one this month. So the next meeting is November 12th. If you want more information, please let me know. I do want to read our mission statement real quick. It says the Canyon County Task Force provides a coordinated response to individuals impacted by domestic violence through collaboration, networking, and the provisions of resources. And again, that's our goal. We want to collaborate as much as we can. So, what we all came here for, the proclamation. So, Commissioner Leslie Van Beek is going to read the proclamation, wow, if she will come up here. But to come up and support her in that, we're going to also have some other people. So if Sheriff Donahue will come up, Brian Taylor from the Canyon County Prosecuting Attorney. Jasmine Vega is going to be here today to speak. She is a survivor. Kim Dugan from Advocates Against Family Violence. And Griselda, if you'll come up as well, from Nampa Family Justice Center. And then Mayor Kuhn from Nampa. We really appreciate your support as well. So without further ado.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here today and to be able to read this proclamation. I've been involved in county government for a short period of time, but in that time I've had the privilege of attending one of these as Commissioner-elect. I've had the privilege of sitting with the sheriff and listening to his stories and his deep heart for this community. I've been privileged to talk with Kim Dugan and the work that she does, and many of you who are involved in this ministry. And it's always difficult in many ways to hear the people that are bravely coming forward. And thank you, Brian Taylor, for the work that you do. So in honor of this, whereas the month of October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and whereas home should be a place of warmth, love, tranquility, and security, however, each day in the state of Idaho, hundreds of victims of domestic violence and their children seek safety and services from community-based domestic violence programs. And whereas domestic violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, age, ethnicity, and economic stature, And whereas domestic violence has tremendous effects on our community, including the judicial system, healthcare systems, our schools, neighborhoods, family, and friends. And whereas the Canyon County Domestic Violence Task Force is a coalition of organizations that continue to directly confront this crisis, therefore, we, the Canyon County Board of Commissioners, take this time to remember those victims whose lives have been tragically taken, to encourage and support survivors who have escaped abuse, and address the importance and the value of community connectedness to prevent and respond to domestic violence. We do hereby proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and encourage all Canyon County residents to take an active role in addressing this issue in our community throughout the year, and especially in the month of October in 2019. So it's been my privilege to read that. I do want to take time to introduce the next person that is a stranger to no one here. But in recognizing him, it may not be aware to everyone that he is the recipient of the 2019 Mills Adler Award from the Idaho Association of Counties, and he has quite a distinction here, so I'm going to take just a moment to read that, as he is involved in his own Manna Crusade and different things in our community. So Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue is the 2019 recipient of the prestigious Mills Adler Award from the Idaho Association of Counties. Donahue was presented with the award last week during the IAC's annual conference in Boise. The Mills Adler Award is given each year to an outstanding county elected official who has made a significant contribution to the enhancement of the IAC and its affiliated association through their dedicated service and support. The Mills Adler Award is named after the late Darwin Mills and former Lincoln County Sheriff, and the late Betty Adler, a former Payette County Treasurer. Sheriff Donahue was honored for his dedicated service to the Idaho Sheriff's Association, where he currently serves as immediate past president. Sheriff Donahue also serves on the legislative committee for both the IAC and the ISA, along with numerous committees for National Sheriff's Association, including government affairs, immigration, domestic violence, juvenile justice, and jail standards. He was also recently elected in the National Sheriff's Association Board of Directors. He serves as the chairman of the executive board for the Oregon-Idaho High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. Please help me welcome our Sheriff, Kieran Donahue.
You should stand up here, thank you. Kim, stay up here, please. Don't run away. Commissioner, thank you for that very kind introduction, and appreciate that. Really, it takes as we always say, it takes an army to do all this, and a lot of those accolades are a direct benefit of my staff and the hard work that they do throughout the year and every year. So I appreciate the staff, and although I get the award, it's a community deal. So thank you very much. Obviously, I'm very passionate about the issue of domestic violence. You all know that. If you don't know that, you probably should know that. It's a tremendous tragedy in our society. We that have worked on the streets and worked in capacities where we see it on a daily basis, we are kind of scarred for the rest of our lives by what we see. We're not as deeply scarred by those who have experienced domestic violence, but I can tell you there's the men and women in this room who work in law enforcement, and certainly the men and women who work in our programs that you see before you here in the prosecuting attorney. We're all in this together. And Brian asked me today, what am I going to talk about? And really, I thought about that this morning. There's not a day goes by that on the national news or the local news that we don't see typically a homicide in the issue of domestic violence in our country. And what happens, unfortunately, except for you all and those that you are related to and work with, what we end up seeing is people say, "Oh, that's really too bad. That's a bad deal," and then they move on to the next subject and the next subject, and they close those blinders. And really what today is about and what this month is about is opening those blinders, because quite frankly, we cannot, in this room, we cannot solve it alone. We have to have everyone with us, but I get very frustrated by people thinking, well, it's happened to that family, happened to that woman, happened to that man. It happens to all of us. It takes a drastic effect on every single person in this room, in this community, and in this state, and in this nation. So you certainly have my pledge as a sheriff of Canyon County and as an individual that I will keep fighting the fight, and we will try to solve and bring an awareness to this massive issue until we have no 1 in 3 women, we have no 1 in 7 men. it's even across the board that we don't have domestic violence. So thank you for having us here. And I have to introduce Brian Taylor, the prosecuting attorney, and although I don't have things written in front of me, Brian Taylor too has received that prestigious award, the Mills Alder Award, approximately 5 years ago, if I recall, Brian. You know, it's not, we don't do this for awards. Brian certainly doesn't do it for awards, but he's very committed to you all. He's committed to this county, and the issue of domestic violence, he has a tremendous staff that deal with this every single day, and I know that each and every one of you can knock on his door and he will sit down and talk to you about the efforts him and his staff do for domestic violence victims in this county. So Brian, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to first thank the Domestic Violence Task Force for putting this together. You guys always do an amazing job to continue the awareness, the public discourse with regards to this particular crime. I also have to thank my amazing staff. As like the sheriff says, we just get the pulpit, as they're the ones in the trenches. My coordinators, my staff, my attorneys, they're the ones that are doing all the hard work. And this is a issue that impacts all of us. And as I look around here, I'm very, very humbled that this group continues to grow every single year. It's a privilege to work with all of you, the businesses, my law enforcement partners, our advocates in the field, victims. Unfortunately, there's too many of them. But it's also a privilege to serve all of you. And it's one of the great things about Canyon County is we continue to grow and explode in population. We still have the small town Idaho feel, which is what I love about this. And because of that, we have these amazing partnerships, these amazing associations, and being able to discuss issues that transcend. You know, this recent year, this summer, we experienced as a community of individuals working on these type of cases, a major court decision that came out. One of the biggest challenges in domestic violence, as many of you know that work in this, is early intervention is critical. Is if you can get a cooling off period, it limits the lethality of a particular situation. The entire country had slowly started moving. It is not the victim that is initiating the actions. It's myself, the sheriff. It's the system that is trying to intervene to separate these parties. And if you can even remove the aggressor for the period of time, either it's putting them into a housing facility, county jail. Something, see, that's a legal terminology, is if you can remove them, even for a 24-hour period of time, we can get services to that victim to assist them to avoid going back to a very lethal situation. Well, as many of you know, as our fine journalists have done, is I've captured what the State versus Clark decision is, took that tool away from law enforcement, that you couldn't do an early intervention of a misdemeanor arrest that didn't occur within the presence of law enforcement, which is basically 99.9% of domestic violence cases. It's usually law enforcement are routing to the scene. If it wasn't for the partnerships, the collaboration in which this county has been fostering for 21 years plus, is we were able to come up with a solution very quickly, within a week. And many individuals in this room were the brainchilds of this, right? Is we were able to get, and the judiciary, they deserve a huge credit. I don't see any of them here as well. But we were able to get basically after hours arrest warrants, which we had never done in this county. And we've been doing that now for about a couple months. But now the next phase, Kim and I had this conversation, Griselda and I are going to have this conversation, is now that law enforcement has intervened, the continuing ability to give those services to the victims. That's the next step. Are we perfect? No. But as we continue to grow every single year, we continue to have this discussion, this discourse, let's continue adding to it to protect the victims so there are no more victims, that we can continue to serve them, help them, to make Canyon County the great county that it is. So I really appreciate all of you coming here to support this. Don't let the conversation die today. Let it continue to go forward. I'm going to be taking the purple pumpkin myself here as well. So, and I get the awesome privilege of introducing Mayor Kling, who's been a new strong advocate. She started with businesses in Nampa and the Chamber of Commerce have really embracing this entire crusade of eradicating domestic violence. And now she is the mayor, and through her guidance and direction of Nampa Police and other entities has really made huge strides. And once again, as the sheriff echoed or indicated, and you'll continue hearing from everyone, it is a community effort. So we really appreciate everything that you've done for us, Mayor. So.
I would like to just say a quick thank you to Sheriff and Brian. Thank you for your comments, thank you for your words, and thank you for your work. And, you know, I won't repeat all that you've said. I just want to say thank you to everyone here. It takes the organizations, it takes the collaboration that we just talked about. And I so appreciate both the Sheriff's Office and our police departments that do collaborate, that work together, working so closely with our prosecuting attorney. But our organizations, and something that some of you have maybe heard me say, it's the power of one. We can say thank you to our organizations and the amazing work that they do, but it takes individuals. And as I look across the crowd and look at all the individuals and our educators and our caseworkers, and it takes every single one of you. And it's the power of one, and it really takes all of us spreading the word of what we can do, and that this is important, and that we can make a difference. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you for being a part of this particular issue and really striving to make a difference as we raise awareness and provide protection and provide a hope in our future for those that are caught in a domestic violence relationship. So thank you for all that you do.
So it's my great privilege to introduce to you Jasmine Vega. She is going to be our speaker today. She's a survivor and thriver. So if you would take a few minutes, yeah, if you guys want to have a seat.
We're leaving.
But you're not alone. And listen to her story. She's very inspiring. Jasmine.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for bearing with me today on this fine October morning. I had to write a speech because this is kind of nerve-wracking. So my name is Jasmine Vega. I am 18 with a beautiful, almost 2-year-old son. I attend high school full-time as well as college full-time, and I'm a part of great organizations and have countless achievements in my academics as well as my personal life. I am happy now, but this has not always been this way. 18 months ago, I would have painted a different picture. Now allow me to set a scene too many across the world are familiar with in one aspect or another. You're 16 with a 4-month-old baby and attend college while in high school. You're working and you have a car. Things seem to be going perfect. You think you're happy. You figure staying with your child's father is best, ignoring all the red flags that are seemingly evident. The day comes and you're driving in your car with your baby and your boyfriend, but he becomes angry yet again, although you know it's only because he is on meth. You try to calm him down the best you can, negotiating by just saying what he wants to hear, but nothing is working. He's swinging at you with loaded fists and pulling your hair as you swerve relentlessly on and off the road. You have had it and decide to push back to remain in control of the vehicle, yet by this point he is shocked you defend yourself and clutches your throat. His grip is tightening and you're losing air. You feel your once racing heart slowing down to just a tempo. You are screaming silently, attempting to pry his fingers off your throat. The edge of your vision goes dark and then nothing. Next thing you know, you're still in your car and that's now off of the road after midnight with blood dripping out of your nose and from your neck. Your child is screaming in the back seat and you're gasping for air, but you are alone, yet you are alive. This was my turning point. I was terrified for my life, and it only amplified because I wasn't the only person to worry about. It was my son. I am a firm believer that violence is wrong and physically beating on your partner is a heinous act and should be brought to justice. What I didn't realize is the extent at which I was allowing that kind of treatment to happen. But this was not about what I could have done before. This is not about the things I believed I should have done to prevent the events leading to that day. And this is absolutely not about feeling sorry for being the victim. I am a domestic violence survivor, not just a victim of a violent crime, and so are many of you. My aim is to encourage those who have had prior experiences being the victim on these types of cases that you can most definitely thrive. Your life is whatever you make it, and you cannot succumb to the circumstances given. Wanting to have better doesn't mean doing it on your own. It is perfectly fine seeking help. Nothing changed by being alone. Nothing changes in silence. Speak up, and your voice can help someone fighting the same battle. So thank you once again for the opportunity for my story to be told. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That was wonderful. Very, very grateful that you could share that with us today. So I'm going to ask Shelby Wilson to come up. She also works for the county. She's also on the Domestic Violence Task Force. She's going to kind of give an explanation of our beautiful display here. Shelby.
Jasmine, thank you so much for that incredible and heartwarming speech. I'm still a little bit choked up from hearing that, but I appreciate your story because your story is very real and very honest with what victims of domestic violence experience. She is a survivor in this situation, and I am thankful that she's here with us today. This Purple Pumpkin Project is the second year that we have done this. And as Lisa Sheehan mentioned and Brian Taylor mentioned, it takes collaboration between different providers, prosecuting attorneys, law enforcement, many of you that are here with us today that assist in the collaboration of that domestic violence awareness. This collaboration for our Purple Pumpkin Project came from the Hope Store Learning Center, came from Walmart, who contributed the pumpkins to us, as well as the Nampa Family Justice Center and the Criminal Justice Club at the College of Western Idaho, for which we paint the pumpkins in representation of not only the act of domestic violence, but also the aftermath of which victims and family members, the ripple effect of those who experience that trauma and what they carry with them day in and day out throughout the course of the trauma as well as afterwards. And so if I can invite Jasmine up here to come get a pumpkin, as well as her advisor, Kat Armstrong, who is here with her today. You will notice that there's also shoes on display. We are doing the In Her Shoes simulation that I'll have Kim Dugan with the Advocates Against Family Violence tell you more about that simulation and what that project represents. But it is designed to represent some of the experiences that victims of domestic violence go through when they experience trauma, as some of what Jasmine has mentioned with us. The shoes represent different victims of domestic violence. You'll notice there's men's shoes, there's women's shoes, there's children's shoes, because it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter age, you can experience domestic violence. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shelby. So this is going to bring this part of this to close. You are all welcome to take a purple pumpkin home with you or to your work. The other purpose of this is to keep that conversation going. That's the purpose of this month. That's the purpose of everything. It's a great conversation piece. So be sure to take one of those home with you. But what we're going to do is after this section, we're going to do the In Her Shoes simulation, which is going to be put on by Advocates Against Family Violence. And then we'll have a lunch debrief afterwards if that is something that you want to stay for. So we'll take a few minute break and then I'll ask Kimberly Dugan up in a minute. So thank you so much for all attending. Again, it means so much to have you here and your support. Thank you.